All right, good evening, everyone, and thank you, Sabine, for hosting this evening. So, what does one do when we start a presentation? What's the first thing you generally hear? Someone start. Okay, so introductions, anything else? Any idea how you normally start a presentation? Jump into it. Exactly. So, well, this is a safety instruction and safety presentation, so we started slightly differently. Firstly, you need to know your exits. So you've walked in through one door, and there's an alternate exit through the kitchen side. So that's foremost. You will be guided if there's any need to evacuate this property, and please do not run. Yes, we don't want people tripping over each other and harming themselves more. Both entrances will remain open throughout this presentation as well, and for any assistance, please shout out and call out. So let's kick into this. Personal safety, what do you see up there? And this is going to be interactive, so please don't assume you're going to be sitting in the rest of the evening. I like to talk, but not as much as I hope some of you guys would. So please, up there you see several images. What do these tell you? Okay. Current situation, okay.
Incentives to move out of Karachi.
That's one. Asylum somewhere, there's a plane up there.
Basically, risks that we face every day.
Okay. Hazards. Anything that appeals to you personally up there? I mean, there are several images. Anything that sticks in your mind that you can relate to an incident that's happened with you or to someone else around you? Anything? Yeah.
The last signature on the left, the gun pointing at.
The gun pointing at Karachi? Well, indeed. Anything else?
I can relate to more than one. I can relate to the one in which the sandals have the dog.
Okay.
I had mine stolen of the mosque I don't know how many times. I can relate to the bank robber because I have been robbed in my home. I can relate to the gun point because one of my friends recently was shot. And so, like, it was
So I think we know who's going to run the show tonight. Hey, that's what it is, right? It's experience, and I was here to talk about my experiences, but he's the guy who's faced all of these. So, all right. One of the things that we all do in this place is well known for is social media and everything. So if you can see up there, you'll find kind of, don't tweet in case of a fire. Actually exit. Hilarious enough, but you know what? A number of organizations are now putting these up on billboards as well in their signage, in their offices, because people are so caught up in tweeting the latest or Facebooking it and stuff. Hey, you know what? There's a fire in the building across me, and yes, and you'll see the images. It works in my favor, so as much as I want to put that up there and I have to, I personally don't like it. I'd rather you tweet it so I know what's happening. But yeah, so anything else anyone would like to share? Anything, something that stands out and makes you think about this? Something, I mean, I've tried to gather things. The Shine Air picture, do you have an idea what this was all about? Up there. This one, here to the top right.
this is not the post bank, it's probably high
Tire burst on landing in Karachi.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry, you were saying? Yes. Yeah. So I think it's, so we have 1, 2, someone else mentioned there, 3. So I guess then we know the solution to that. What about this one here, this guy here? This one with priorities. The bottom, this man. Yeah. Fire evacuation, exactly. But do you see he's carrying something?
He's carrying a t-shirt person. No, he looks like a CPU.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. So you will hear in this next session, I mean through the next hour or so, why and what he did right or wrong. But of course his priority was something different. It wasn't his personal safety, it was what was on the computer.
I know someone who can test that.
I asked for my laptop back. That boyfriend came into our house and he gave it. So, sometimes it works.
I know someone who did that.
And that guy and this guy is a security manager's nightmare. You know, that's exactly the opposite of what we say. Leave everything and go. You are more valuable. Everything out there can be replaced. It's a hard preach, and you will see that. I have some examples as well. But it's really tough, and it's more developing the culture. So we kind of move on. You've given us some wonderful examples, and I have plenty more to share as well, and we'll go through that. But thank you for that. So risks in the home. We're going to break this out in two sections. So first is risk in the home, and then risk outside the home. And when I say outside the home, for this discussion, we'll talk about it in general. So when you're on the roads and even in the office. We won't focus as much as the offices because they generally have people who do that work for you. But so in the risk in the home, what do you think are the risks at home? Or who's at risk? What's at risk? Any ideas? Everyone. Understood. Anything you'd like to share? Anyone else? Do you want to come up here? No. It is, indeed, it is.
I think people live in far risk in the home for them are many, because so many laws have been broken that all those safety factors all be broken. So safety after.
Indeed, you're absolutely right. And let's just say every person compounds the problem. Unfortunately, it's not improves the system, but actually compounds the problem in our society. Unfortunately, that's the case. So yes, when you're in a high-rise, a multi-tenant facility, that generally happens because not everyone is as conscious maybe as you. And I have various anecdotes that we can share and we'll discuss as well, where some amazing things that people say and do. And you actually end up fighting them more than tackling the incident that you're trying to resolve. So I've broken this down, and like you can see, the people, minors, teens, adults, so basically anyone and everyone in the house. The valuables, and the structure itself. Now, I say valuables and I also say risks in the home. Any idea why? Temptation. True. But if you recall that first slide with that guy evacuating from the building, he was taking his CPU, the computer unit with him. He was trying to protect his valuables. So the focus for him, and that created a risk for him. So he had to go back in, unplug it, because you don't just have a computer lying around unplugged. I mean, you can have an example here, all wires connected. By the time he dismantles, at least the laptop is easy carry. So again, it's what is on that which is valuable, but it's also creating a risk because he's now focused on getting that out. And that's what we tend to do as well with our documents, jewelry. You'll find people, and numerous examples. I've been involved in rescue efforts with fire, where people have gone running back in to pull out that one piece of paper that they left under the sink that they forgot about 2 years ago, and suddenly it's the most valuable thing for them. Absolutely. Exactly, and that's why I said it becomes, the system, the whole environment gets compounded with various aspects and factors to it. And that's where really the challenge becomes then. What do you do? How do you do it? Sir? Pets, indeed. Absolutely. I've seen many cases where people have run in for their pets and forgot their kids. Yeah, I mean, there's a corny joke about the guy running in to get his, dog and forgetting his wife, but it's reality. I mean, you do a Google, you do some research online, and you will find this happening, that a lot of people do that. These are funny. Of course, these days with the YouTube, kind of ban, we can't show you some of those videos, but honestly, some of the things that people do. But again, it's the value. So, wife can, the dog doesn't know what to do. But that concept is something that we want to share with you as well, and that's rightly so when you say that about pets. So we lead into this. And we kind of go into the flow where we say what you can do. What you can do before something happens, or should something happen, what you need to do as well. So this image here, what do you think happened? Take your wildest guess. Cigarettes? Anyone else? Arson, yeah. Anything else? Why is this building on fire, this house on fire? Short circuit. Something else. Be imaginative. We're from Karachi. At least most. Candle. When the neighbors don't like you, torched your house? I don't know. Husband tried to make dinner? Indeed. So, we get... Insurance, there you go. So there is an insurer in the house, so well, here's the reason. Hey, extreme reactions. It happens. People try to do things when they're not capable. They don't know what they're trying to do. There's a panic. In this case, it's a spider. You have people jumping up because there's a rat roaming around. Some are rodents or lizards, and inadvertently, you may be in the house and sitting with a candle burning, and you jump suddenly, and the candle goes flying, and next thing you know, your curtain's on fire. These things happen. It's not made up. These things actually happen. So yeah, so indeed, but we don't want this kind of extreme reaction from anyone. We want you to be methodical in what you do. And here's how we're going to guide you. I'm not running into, I'm going to keep the slide up there for examples for you. Involve the family. It's key that every member in the household knows what to do. When you walked in, and we have some other friends who walked in as well right now, I told you there's one entrance and one exit. In case of an emergency, you'll be guided out. When I walked into this facility, I didn't know that. But that was my first question to Sabine. How do I get out of here? It's just second nature in my case. But do we know that? We go to friends' places, we go to relatives' houses. If they don't have a plan, if something goes wrong, then what? And as much as we laugh and we smile about it, but it happens. I'm a first responder as well, and I've responded to some incidents, and you'll be surprised. People had no clue. So when I say routines, school, gym, office, anything, you can throw in anything in there. What am I asking you to think about? What about routines am I asking you to think about? Can you give an idea? Anyone? Okay.
It's also about knowing who's supposed to be in the house and who isn't.
All right.
If some incidents happen, so you know that person X, for example, my kid's not at home, my brother's not at home, I know he's not there, so I don't have to worry about going in and looking for him because he's supposed to be office or work.
Mm-hmm.
It will also be when knowing where other family members are, where at a certain point, where they will be.
Maybe.
Exactly what
Yeah.
it's like. Yeah.
Let me just say this outright. There are no wrong answers. There are never really wrong answers. It's just the sequence that we kind of guide you. I have another colleague, an experienced colleague in the room as well, and he'll vouch for that, that when we talk, there's never really a wrong answer. It's just that we guide you in how we would want you to do it. You know the answers. It's in us, all of us. We just don't know the right sequence to put them in, and that's what I'm here to help you put that in the right sequence. So routines, you mentioned some of that, knowing where people are, why they are, what they're doing. Anything else? Mm-hmm. Sure. Location. Well, all of what you've said is absolutely right. You need to know all of this. But what's also key is knowing when something is out of routine, out of the normal. So for instance, you leave for work every morning and you reach your office in say half an hour. You may have a way of communicating with your family, and some say, hey, I've reached, send a text message, some don't. But for instance, if you've not reached the office, And there have been occasions when the office people call back and say, hey, you know what? So-and-so hasn't reached. Is all well. He's normally in by this time, or she's normally here at this time. Same for school. The driver's gone to drop the kids. Okay. But you know what? He normally returns and the route is 10 minutes. Yeah, okay, Bilawal Charangi is blocked. The president's in town. Add another 10 minutes. When it reaches an hour, what happens? Panic. But why is that happening? Because you know it's out of routine, out of the norm. So learn the routines of everyone. Know which kid goes to what school at what time, who goes to university at what time. A husband, wife, they work, somebody stays at home, the maid comes in at a certain time, somebody else comes in at a different time. Learn those routines, know them. Because when something doesn't happen according to that, immediately you have an alert going off in your head, saying, hang on, maybe. Sometimes it just happens that nothing is, it's nothing. But we live in an environment where things can happen. So, you'd want to be comfortable with that. Why panic when you have a way of knowing it? Medical conditions. What do you see there in the yellow? It's like medication, dosage, doctors, hospitals, etc. What am I talking here?
People with special requirements, people who are no longer, if they're ill and if they're outside, if they're falling out of routine, you have to make sure you put there, with whatever happened due to a medical condition. That's what you would check for.
Okay.
And also in case of evacuation, like someone needs to be evacuated, things happen, and then you naturally won't go and pick up medicines, but then you would go back and make sure that the person has, when you're in a safe space, you go back and make sure that the person gets the medication or whatever that you use.
Right enough. Fair enough.
For me, it's a bit more critical. Like people usually have allergies, but they don't really get checked. So that is really a very critical thing because that would be a very, very, very fatal thing to happen suddenly. And sometimes people get strokes for no particular reason at all.
Right.
Something happens that they get a common blood clot or something. People are trying to lose weight, do a lot of exercise, get a lot of diet pills, and that kind of like throws the whole body out of whack. People need to know what to do in those circumstances.
All right.
Managing those.
And that's detailed first aid or basic first aid training. How many of you out here would just pop Disprin or paracetamol, for some, yeah, casual, you have a slight ache or pain, you just take. There are quite a few people who do that. But if there was an outsider in your home, and they suddenly fell ill, would you give them that? Or if someone right now fell ill here, would you give that person something? You'd ask.
Especially if someone's diabetic and you know about it, then you ask specifically, you can't take this.
Again, and you're rightly so. But I'll give you an example of for Disprin. As much as Disprin seems harmless to most people, I had a colleague who reacted to Disprin where he broke out with rash and suddenly his face was swelling up and you're like, what happened to you? And he's like, what did you all give me? And we were like, Disprin. He's like, I react. So Disprin, some of the most harmless medication known around. So the idea is don't play around with medication. You can assume if you're not a doctor, find out or ask that person. Say, hey, you know what? We have these. Can you take these? Generally, though, if the person's coherent, they can tell you. Do they react to it or not? Dosage. When we talk about dosage, here's the deal. In my house, I have my mom. She's on regular medication on a daily basis. I'm sure all of us have someone in the home, and if we don't, then you're really lucky, you're healthy people, and that's a good thing. But you would have someone in your home who takes medication or requires medication on a daily basis, weekly basis, whatever. Do you know what that medication looks like? Number one. Do you know where it's stored? Do you know the dosage? Some need to take half a tablet, some need to take 3 tablets of the same. Do you know where to buy it? If it's out of there. Here's the assumption we all make. Hey, we'll open that cupboard, that's where we store all the medication. True, maybe. But then what do we do with that? The exact dosage, how much should we give? Why not just make a proper chart? If there's someone who needs proper medication, make that chart and put it up there. If you can't, kind of scotch tape the actual pill to the sheet, on the internet, take an image of it, print it out there. And I'll tell you why. These things come handy when you're not in the house. Someone who's senior, an adult is not present, or an adult who's mature enough to understand what it is. Many of us leave domestic help alone with older people for the day. They suddenly call you, Saabji, there's, Mem Saab has fallen, we don't know what to do. Okay, you know what, go to the fridge, see that tablet, look at that one, go find it in the boxes next to her table, give it to her. Simple things, and you'll be surprised. What about doctors? If someone was to suffer burns right now, do you know where to go? Okay. Emergency, civil hospital? Not civil? Okay. Okay. And I'm being very specific here. For burns. Anywhere else? Okay. So we've got several names. We only got one so far, which is right. And that's civil. Civil, and the other one is Patel Hospital in Gulshan, just after Disco Bakery. These are the two hospitals in Karachi that can treat burns victims beyond first aid, beyond first degree burns. So you taking anyone to National, to Jinnah, to AKU, you're wasting time. Drive straight there. Similarly with heart hospitals, find out the right hospitals. And this is generally people don't know this. So two hospitals in the whole of Karachi for burns. As much as you and I probably wouldn't want to go to civil hospital, guess what? They're the only ones who have really capability of handling burns victims. And no matter what level of burns. Do you even know where it is? Do you know where the Patel Hospital in Gulshan is? Do you know the directions? I need directions to come here. I had to call Sabine and ask her, which lane to turn. But there's a solution to that. Do you know what the answer is? Anyone? Venture a guess. Well, that's one. Google Maps? It's not working these days. No. It's on and off. If you don't tell them. It's not working for me at least. And quite a few I know. Yeah.
Basically, just familiarize yourself with the directions.
Indeed. But an easier way, just call the ambulance service and ask them. The ambulance drivers, my friends, are doing this thing day in, day out, all day long. You in doubt? Call the helpline and say, I have a burns victim. I have a heart victim. They will guide you. They will tell you where to go. Don't try to find and call someone, oh, I know this doctor who is based there, he'll know the right doctor. No, just ask the ambulance driver. He's the easiest. Pick up anyone. Anyone. Generally anyone. But do you have the right numbers? That's another thing. By default, every operator, mobile operator, gives you certain numbers in your system. They feed them. Every phone has them. Because the operators place them on your cell phone with your SIM. There are emergency numbers with every SIM provided. Not just for their helpline, but also for the authorities. It's all available there. Special requirements, again, when I said, certain people may be disabled. Some may be, sight issues, as I said. How do you carry out a person in an emergency? You're living in a multi-story building, you're living in the house, the stretcher can't come in. Do you wheelchair them out? Do you carry them on a chair? Do you wrap them in a rug and take them down over your shoulder? I don't know, depends. But you need to understand that. Even when calling the ambulance, please understand, don't just call an ambulance. Tell them, we are on the 3rd floor, we are on the 1st floor, we have a patient who is wheelchair-ridden or bed-ridden, needs an attendant. Because generally the ambulance drivers come alone. It's just the driver. And if he can't, then make sure you have someone from the neighborhood to help you, some other person. Remember, you don't kind of, we're in that mode at that point. We're all energized. We need to save the person. And we end up doing more harm to ourselves than as well as the victim. We hurt our backs. We pick them up from the wrong angles. This happens. Human beings in panic situations can become dead weight as well. So, you weigh 10 times your weight. Again, valuables. Or, So I mentioned all these there. But learn where they're stored. Make it the responsibility for every member in the household to do something. Hey, you know what? You run and, of course, if it's a fire, we want you to get out first. But depending on the situation, you pick up this bag. This is our ready bag to go. It always has these documents in it. Back up your documents. Online, save them, scan them, do whatever you want, even if you lose them. There's a friend, her house, she had a fire. Lost every document she ever owned. From school records till university, passports, everything. It took 6-7 months to get all those documents back. Why? Because she didn't even have a photocopy. So first she had to start thinking back, okay, hang on. Actually, she did have a photocopy, but it was clipped with the originals. These things happen because people don't realize. It's just like you see in the offices, we always tell our colleagues, hey, when you're going, keep your laptop in the trunk of the car, not on the back seat. So inadvertently, once a week, you'll have a colleague coming up to you and saying, you know what, hey, we did that, but it was still stolen. Okay, can you explain? We actually, we were going back home, and then we decided to go to the bazaar, but then we realized you told us to put it in the trunk, and we forgot it was still on the back seat. So we, in the bazaar, we opened the car back seat, take out the trunk, open the trunk, put the laptop in, now for the whole world to see. Come back, laptop gone. And that happens. They followed my instructions. So, hey, you said put it in the trunk. Yes, that happens too. So, valuables, all sorts of value. Anything that's valuable to you, know how to keep them, where to keep them, what to do with them. Again, involve everyone. And we'll go through a couple more slides in this. I've kind of split it. A hazard hunt. What is a hazard hunt? What is the aim of a hazard hunt? Minimize risk. Did I hear that? Yeah. Find points of failure. Okay, here's what we're doing now. We're stopping on this slide, and I want you to explore T2F right now for hazards. We're giving Sabine a free assessment. Seriously, come on. Find something. Let's step out. Let me see what you think you can find here as a hazard. Anyone. Not everyone has to get up. Yeah? Right. So I want you to just walk around. A couple of you, come on. Like I said, this is interactive. And this will give you an idea of what you have to do back home when you go home today. Right? Check, there's more. I'm sure there's more. So what do we find? Come on, guys. No emergency lights. All right. No signs for emergency exits. What else? Sabine, take note. None of the bookshelves are bolted. Tripping hazards. So you get the gist of what I'm saying. I bet when you walked in here, no one of you actually thought of that. And that's the idea. It's a neutral place. It's a new place for some, an old place for some. Even for those who've come here often, you may not have noticed this. Or if you did, you may not have brought it to the notice of those who can actually make a difference. Because these hazards can actually affect you. something can go wrong. And you could be the one who's suffering from it. This is exactly what we want you to do when you go home. Involve the family, involve the kids, make it fun. Give them a candy for every time they find something wrong. Yeah, if you don't want candies, give them, good vegetables. I don't know, brinjal. Yeah. But here's the idea. Get the family involved, and like we said on the previous page, get the family involved, make it a habit. This afternoon, I got corrected by my 3-year-old. And I actually tweeted that, because it was, as much as it was embarrassing, I was actually proud of him. He scolded me for road rage. What's road rage? Somebody cut me off and I kind of went off on a rant, and what the hell are you doing, and stopped, and kind of thing. And he's like, you don't talk to people on the road like that. That's my 3-year-old telling me that. But that's exactly what we're talking about. And he's kind of, he troubles me at times, because the other day he was sitting and he was watching a movie, apparently. At that time I didn't know it was a movie. And he comes running into my room and says, there's a bomb explosion on a bus. It turned out he was watching Speed. Yeah, he's 3. You can build these. He gets in the car, he knows to wear his seatbelts. He'll make fun of anyone else not wearing the seatbelts. My mom tends not to, so I make her try to sit at the back seat then. He's like, why aren't you wearing the seatbelt? And now he's kind of embarrassed her into wearing seatbelts. It works, with the grandparents, use the kids or the grandkids. But that's the idea. When you start getting them involved. And as much as I preach this, I'm at fault as well at myself. But he sees me talking about it, he sees me telling others, he's picking up on that. So it's a habit. It's what you can do. So again, like Naveed mentioned, heavy things in the room, you want to bolt them in place. These kind of, look at this here. This is actually something tied at the back. So it's in a way, it looks like it's tilted, but it's actually still going to stay in place. It's not going to fall over. But that's a storeroom many of us would have in our house. And you open the door and suddenly everything is falling on your head. It may not be a hazard for an adult, but kids may open the wrong door. Something could fall on their head. So again, the hazard hunt. Make it fun, a fun exercise with the family. To-do list. Somebody, do you all know what these numbers are? Which is which? Which one is 80? Okay. Anyone else? What else is there? Sorry? Which one? 15 is police. What is 1021? Aman Foundation. Absolutely. What's 915? Haha. That's the one I threw in there. That's the curveball. So, 915. Fire brigade? No. Who knows the fire brigade number? 16. 116 is sui gas. What's 119? I think it's KESC, I think. That's the helpline. 118? 118. Yeah. Say? Do we? So, you don't know what 915 is? How many of you get caught driving on the streets of Karachi and don't know your way around? How many times have you been caught in a traffic jam and don't know how to get out? Yes. Yes. There you go. So if one thing you take away from today's session is 915, call them for all the traffic alerts. Yeah, no, indeed. 915 is the traffic helpline. And again, it's not so much for provision of traffic updates in the sense of they will tell you for major blockades. So if Chandigarh Road is completely packed and there's VIP movement on the roads, they'll tell you, they'll give you a fair idea. Today, how many of you have experienced traffic issues due to the rally? I mean, the memorial service for today at Karsas. How do we know? Call 915, they have the details. They'll tell you what time they're going to close and what time they'll open. Well, yeah, if you're following me. But they're also good for if you see a road traffic accident. You see an accident on the road, just call 915 and let them know. You see someone whose car is broken down in the middle of the road and there's no way, and that's causing a pile-up a mile long. Call them. They'll send a tow car truck there wherever possible. And they do that. And I've used it. Yes. I've used it many times. Many times. So again, education, continue to educate. This session today is all about that. Just educating you, giving you ideas and tips, small things. This is one US government site, FEMA, Fire and Emergency Management Authority. Very good site for games for the kids on fire, safety, other hazards. CPLC has good tips on there. They tell you where the police stations are, who to log in. Sin police site is off there as well. Tips, yeah.
Another one, Rising Karachi.
Rising Karachi is now a new site. Yes, they're working on that. They're helping. So again, I've listed some of the well-known ones that you can play around with. They have formats, easily downloadable. When I talk about make to-do lists, these sites have them ready-made. You just alter them to whatever you need. So how many of you know who to call in what emergency? Kids go to school. Do you have the school number? Yeah, I get that quite a bit, and I'm sure to get a lot more. So that's the thing. Kids' school, you show up one day and the school's closed. What do? Do call them ahead of time? There's a strike. You may not have got. We're living in an area where generally now more and more services are available where they send a text message the night before, put it up on their website. But otherwise you have to pick up the phone and call. You're reaching late to pick up your kid. How many of you actually phone the school to tell them, hey, I'm coming late today. I'll be half an hour late. Don't send my kid with anyone else. Or if someone else is coming to pick me or pick the child, then they should know who's coming. Now schools have ID cards with them. They give them, again, just pass the message. Schools have that, so no. So continuously educate. Bring it there. This is it. And it's not just you. We're all adults, a majority of us in this room. And most of us didn't know many of these numbers. So you cannot expect someone back home right now to know as many. They may know. But again, put them up, available, easily downloaded. These formats and numbers are available all over. The key is police stations. Know the police station which really affects your area. Wherever you live, what is the right police station to call? Please understand, when we assume that a policeman will respond to your house burglary, on an average across Karachi, police stations have maybe just 3 mobiles. Those 3 mobiles cover massive areas. One is with the SHO, so he's never getting out of his office or his home. So that leaves 2 for active duty. And if there is a VIP in the city, 1 of those are taken off. That leaves 1 for the police station. But know the right one to call. Because you call 15, they will still guide you. They will also give you the local police station for that area. So help yourself, understand, know who to go to. Outside the home. All forms of transportation, air, road, rail, we use them on a daily basis, and they're used in the city on a daily basis. Do you have any idea what that picture is there of that car with some white eggs? Anyone else heard of that? Yeah. Have you actually heard of an incident? But you've all received the email or the SMS or the rumor or the Facebook page with that picture. I actually pulled it off this afternoon from a Facebook page for this. And funny enough, I saw a comment of a UK police officer on that. And I was kind of surprised because I contacted the person as well separately. That ain't happening anywhere. It's one of those urban legends. Yeah. Funny enough, it hasn't. There's no recorded instance in the civilized world where an egg was thrown on your screen and raw egg was thrown on your screen and you blind the vehicle and everything goes haywire. Pranksters maybe.
They use spray cans.
Well, yeah, I mean,
In New York, and put it on your screen.
yeah, I mean, people can, but the idea is to know and know the difference, you know. Can this really happen? No, it doesn't happen.
It has happened actually. If I look at my past, a few of my friends actually went on a rampage. I was actually with them. We threw cars on the road. We threw eggs on passing cars on the road. Like it was way back. But can you actually?
You either want to know this guy's face and, you know, put it out there with the OBL poster, most wanted.
I stopped doing that 5 years ago.
Yeah, that's the reason we...
5 years back? How did 5 years back?
Well, again, like I said, there's no recorded instance of this happening leading to a crime. Pranks, what he's talking about, definitely. But has this led to a crime being conducted? No. There's no recorded fact. And I tried to hunt every site today. Couldn't find anything. So, you know, again, it's one of those things. Then you also see where people throw that. The other one that's common is where you find I mean, you know, on the net you'll find the story of a baby put in a car seat, left on the side of the road, you stop to help, it turns out to be a doll and your car is snatched. Of course, people do stupid things and, you know. But can it happen? Will these things happen? Can someone try them here? Yeah. How many of you have been receiving those white Corolla SMS? Yeah. What will you do with that? So, yeah, no, and this is pertinent, yeah, and this is what I want to know because we're talking transportation. So many of you in this room have received a message saying there's a white Corolla group going around, you know, robbing people at the gates and doing things, etc., etc. Yeah. You spot a white Corolla with 4 guys who resemble what's written in that SMS. What are you going to do? I mean, they're not coming at you. They're just driving, you know. Yeah. The point is that kind of an SMS only causes fear. I actually had a number of sane people, inverted commas, tell me that they've told all their female friends not to drive. Don't get out. Remember that fire picture? And they've stopped driving. I know them. They're scared because of that one SMS. I asked him, so what stops those 4 Corolla guys to get into your house?
What stops them from getting into white Corolla?
Into a black Corolla or into a gray Cultus or whatever, or, you know. The point is, again, we try to trace that back. I don't know if anyone else has information, but I tried to trace that back to the authorities. Somebody did circulate it, but it was more a personal thing. I had nothing to do one evening. But well,
It was an incident in which a white Corolla was used, but then that was not a gang.
yeah.
It was not a gang, not on the rampage, not on the serial assignment.
What's the most common car stolen? White cars. Any idea why white? Yeah. Well, you know, actually, you know what? The gone in 60 seconds kind of concept doesn't work here much. People don't bother repainting. But the car is so common, everyone has a white car, it's easily displaced. Lost in the crowd. And most cars which are stolen are they're chopped up outside the city, they're taken outside the city, generally. Tracker devices help. There are different views on that, what they do. You know, how many of you would have a car which goes, you go remote, click, click, and the lights blink and To each his own. I mean, some say it wards off, a guy saying, hey, this has got a tracker device on it, or a remote lock. Personally, that's just advertising that I'm approaching my car. Because people, too lazy to open, standing from here, khol do jao, yaar. Send the driver, go pick up the things from inside there, I'll click the remote from here. Ease, yes, but again, so bags, can you see this? Any idea why this suitcase, and I picked this particular picture, why this kind of lock?
Nobody can put drugs or anything into it.
Yeah, I mean, well, exactly. You would want to lock your bag, especially when you're checking it in. Why not use a normal padlock? And that's, you're picking on what I wanted to get to. When you use a kind of lock, you can remove this whole thing rotates to the side. This way it stays visible. So right from afar, you know if someone's tampered with your bag. But when your lock, it moves around and people throw it around, kind of moves around as well with this. Because this lock is such, if you just put the hook here and, it's rotating. That's the purpose of these zips. They can go anywhere, left side, right side. So this kind of keeps it in place, visible. You always see the lock, and you will, because when you're wheeling it, in this particular case, has a kind of trolley bag handle. So it's right on top, and you know if your bag's open or not.
There's a problem with such kind of zips is that you just insert a pencil in any area you can open the zip without actually trying.
Yeah, of course. Anyone can do anything these days with everything. Some of the TSA locks, everyone talks about TSA locks. TSA locks for those who are traveling, and they'll tell you for US as well, TSA locks. Actually go try that. You can open anyone's bag with a TSA lock if they have one, and you have the same key. So get a TSA lock which actually has a code on it as well. Just the one with the key. Any key can work in any lock. You get these easily in the markets. I bought 4 of them and I put one key and it opened all 4 locks. So when I went back to the shop, I'm like, so you're telling me how many did you sell? He's like, I've sold about 200. So basically I'm like, so if I steal your customer database, I know whose baggage I can go in and open. Or for that matter, I don't even have to. I just need to see the bag and, at the airport if I want to play around. Of course, this is exposing. Make it difficult. Those who want to get in will get in. They'll find a way of getting in. They'll just cut it out and, steal, or the bag will disappear. So it's more that. But the idea is know and make it difficult for someone else to break into. You won't leave your door open when you go to sleep. You lock the door. You put a bolt on it. So that's one key aspect is transportation. When you get into your cars, do you lock your cars? You sit with all the door locks open. Are your windscreens rolled up or rolled down? You have an AC. Yeah, especially at the signals, even if it's hot, when you don't have an AC, keep them rolled up because these guys just quick tap and go. These things happen. And you can't stop them. Honestly, you can't stop them. And stopping them and arguing with them, and as Faria there said, asking for her laptop back and getting it back, that's something I would never advise. Yeah. I don't know what maybe he didn't know how to operate that laptop.
I know people who actually ask for their SIM
Yeah.
when they got it.
I'm sure.
They keep the phone, they give the SIM back.
Would you do that? Why would you ask for your SIM back? Yeah. Because firstly, your phone, the SIM has a certain number of limits. I think it's 100 or 200 numbers. 200, 250. You can back them up. Just back them up. Copy them somewhere else. I mean, it's very easy. If not, have a notebook. It's a nuisance. But the point is, and we'll discuss that in the coming slides, why we say, kind of don't argue with them. But I want you to see this next video. Again, it's some corporation that developed. I kind of infringe on copyrights, but yeah, it's a good example of what's available. in, take this moment to ask yourself, how many times have you failed to wear a seatbelt? Do you truly care? It's not about you alone. Every single person, married, unmarried, has someone who they support, whether morally, financially, you support. We have help at home. Drivers, they use their motorcycles. Do they have a helmet? A helmet today costs between about 1,000 rupees. Buy him one if he doesn't have one. Protect his life. You wear a seatbelt. Make sure everyone wears their seatbelts. I have numerous cases where people have been saved because of seatbelts. There's a friend of mine sitting in the audience, and he will tell you, I actually threw a friend out of a car once because he refused to wear a seatbelt. And I made him come home on his own. I was going to his home. I reached before him. Yeah. Guess what? He actually wore that seatbelt after that, and he had a major accident not much after that as well. But he had the seatbelt on. I was the first person he called. He said, you saved my life that day by being a moron. It's not all about me here, but that's the idea. Sometimes you can be harsh. People need to learn the harsh way. Do it. Haha, the favorite topic of everyone these days. Happened to you? Happened to someone you know? What's the one thing you always recall from an incident like this? What's the one thing that stands out in every victim's mind? The click. Fear.
I wish I wasn't there.
Yeah. Anything. Anger. Of course, it's violation. Helplessness. But can you help yourself in a situation like this? Let them get away. Yeah. Aha. You can lock your ATM doors. Yes. Do you know why why there are locks in ATMs? Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. But you know what? If you spot a bank which has an ATM which cannot lock, you can write to that bank, and you can also copy State Bank because they're violating the laws. State Bank has mandated every bank to put locks on the ATM doors. Again, so then it's useless, right? It's like having no lock. So exactly, write it, bring it to their notice. Again, help yourself. Because it may not happen to you this time, but the next time you forgot to tell. Why didn't I tell them? Maybe they changed it and someone else. But yeah, now this guy is inside, they've come inside, what's he doing? Fine, he's lost it. But like I said, help yourself, and someone said helplessness here. You don't have to be helpless. Everyone's carrying a wallet or a bag right now, I assume. I want you to tell yourself the contents of your wallet. Do you know of every single thing in your wallet? Yeah. Everything that's in your wallet right now.
Maybe even the cash to connect to about 200 rupees, maybe even the cash number.
Anyone else? Do you know what corner of what pocket has what? Do you know the credit card numbers that you're carrying, the ATM card numbers you're carrying? You have a backup. Yeah. Do you know which banks your ATMs are issued from or your credit cards are issued from? Do you know their numbers? You're this person. What do? What's the first thing you do? Yeah. So he's taken everything. Let's, for this instance, remove. This person has put the gun to your head. You've given up everything. They've left. Now what do?
There's a phone inside the phone. Pick up that phone.
It's not working. Which generally doesn't sometimes. Depends on which bank.
Go out, get a taxi, go home, they're going to pay. Anyone at home can pay for the taxi.
Right. And
And then you call up the banks, whatever cards you had, get them blocked
an inventory.
of what you had on.
But do you know what you have in your wallet? You may, and you're rightly so. But how many of us actually know what's right now in this wallet? Do you know what's in this wallet? I do. How many bills? How many credit cards? Scratch card for a phone, somebody's, business card. Somebody's home address, you didn't know how to get to their home. You're just giving them another place to go rob. Yeah, funny, eh? But when you pull out that, so he's gone into whatever XYZ bank's ATM, he's lost his ATM card. Who does he call? How does he get his ATM blocked? Does he have the ATM card number? Does he know the bank number? Right. So we have Imtiaz here saying that the bank will access your credit card numbers or whatever your details based on your CNIC number.
CNIC number, and they also ask you for verification. Some important questions which you have filled in your form, and they ask you to call from the number which you have put in your form. So you can't call from any number.
That phone's gone.
You have to follow this protocol.
Okay. He's taken my mobile phone. I go home, my home line is not working.
So then you
Okay, yeah, that's what exactly happened to me, and I got out of it. I couldn't tell you how, but it's just that you go for the SIM first.
It's not get us, but you don't get a SIM.
It was not with us. I don't want to say where it was.
I have a relationship manager who's over at event.
You're supposed to know this kind of stuff.
For example, everyone knows Telenor's helpline is 345, but that's when you're dialing off your cell phone. What's the UAN number? 111 something. I go home, there's no electricity, there's no internet, now what do? It's funny. I'm obviously, and I've worked full time as a security manager with a multinational as well, and so one day I get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning from a colleague. I've just been mugged. All right, do this. Yeah, but I don't know the numbers. Do you know your CNIC number? No, they took the CNIC with them. Do you have a photocopy? No. How can I help you? It's true. But you know what? At that time, I kind of helped the person along. I had many more things that they could do. Got it done for them. Had a relationship with the mobile operator, with the banks as well. Knew some people. Called them up, favors, this and that, and sorted it out. But the point is, it happened at 2 o'clock in the morning. Now, why didn't that person know where these things were? It's not that he or she didn't have them. He just couldn't find them. She just couldn't find them. Was so panicked. The gun was put to the head. There were family members and kids in the car. Trauma. It happens. This is not an everyday occurrence as much as it happens every day in the city, but it doesn't happen every day to you. I hope not. Please leave the room if it does. So know these things. Keep your details available, your data available. When we said make forms, there's these helpful forms which I showed you on the other page as well. It has the bank numbers, what numbers to call, what's your details, etc. How many of you have a CNIC here? Original photocopies? Don't carry. Why don't you carry?
So many times every month we take a
Right.
least amount of it. That's what we have done.
Yeah. It's happening more and more. And I'll tell you why that's happening. Because Nadra is now processing reapplications or reissuance of ID cards very easily.
But you can take care of that now. You can either have a driving license
Yes.
or your signature.
You need a government issued photo ID. Generally, people will ask for a government issued photo ID.
Some places they won't accept.
Yeah, again, and so then you need to, if you know you're going there, then carry that. It happens, you lose it, yeah. So, how do you know your card actually is correct? The data on your CNIC right now, if I were to ask you to check your CNIC data right now, can you confirm that that card is absolutely genuine? Yeah. But there's a quick fix to know your ID card has no errors, or at least no major errors in it. Look at the last number after the hyphen. There's a single digit number. If it's an odd number, and you're a girl, or a lady, or a woman, then you're in trouble. If it's an odd number, and you're a female, a woman, a girl, whatever, then you're in trouble. Yes. Yes. So it's evens for ladies and odds for gents. If that's wrong, go and get your ID card corrected. Yeah, I've done documentation, fraudulent documentation training, but it is there. You can check for everyone and you will always find that. So if there's a mistake on that, go change it. Expiry dates as well on your ID cards. Of course now, because more and more the banks will call you up and harass you that, hey, your card's expired. Passports won't be issued if your ID card's expired. So it's there. Don't ask how they give the expiry limits. No one understands that really. They have a certain way, but it makes no sense even to some of those who are sitting in Nadra.
What's happened was the first issue is 15 years, and if you're a certain age bracket, if you're under a certain age bracket, then the first issue would be 15 years, and after that it would be 10 years cards each.
Yeah, but in my case, I've got 8 years, I've got 13 years, and yeah. It's again,
80-year-old Nani had a 5-year agreement.
yes.
I mean, we had to take her to a
They don't expect her to live beyond 85.
It's insane. I mean, that's
I'm sorry, but that's exactly what the system says to them. They don't. You see, they say that something will happen. But anyways, but that's the idea. These small tips they can check. When we were discussing mobile phones, how do you know that you don't have any other numbers out there with your name on them? The campaign is ongoing. You can do that exercise right now. Send your CNIC number to 668 and it will tell you how many operators have how many numbers in your name registered. Now please understand this. If you see that your Uphone has 3 numbers and you only use Telenor or whatever, you go to Uphone. Uphone is not going to tell you who used those numbers. You only go there, give them an application saying, I do not have any numbers registered in Uphone. Please block these. They will never tell you who's using those numbers. They will never tell you that. So don't bother arguing with them. That's the rule. But you can find out. Sorry, you were saying.
And that was my question because apparently I have my
Yes.
number of mobile
Just go to the network. Just go to the network. You don't even have to write. They have these pre-printed formats. You just fill in your name, CNIC number, and say, I have no numbers registered on your network. Please block all numbers other than the one which...
They didn't give me anything, but they said that write an application.
Write it. I mean, some are lazy. I mean, it depends on your network.
I certify I do not have any other numbers in my name.
There is a preventive measure for that. Whenever you're handing off your photocopy CNIC to anyone, just cross it off and mark it and write it clearly for whatever purpose you're giving. Because companies, the telecom companies do not actually take CNICs if they have any other purpose listed on the NIC. Now they only take
And let's just well, yeah. I mean, if we talk on the numbers, everyone's celebrating. We're talking about something like 120 million connections. Believe me, no more than 50% of them are actually genuine customers. That's unfortunately the way the data is, and that's a separate discussion. But yeah, outside the home, hazards, public disorders, we all know these things are happening. Do you know where to go? So one of you stranded in one direction of the city, the other one stranded in the other direction of the city. Have you decided with your family that if this happens, you will go to that person's house, I will go there and we'll connect? Have you actually told someone that? Does everyone in the home know that? Hey, you don't worry about me. If something goes wrong on the streets, I will get to this location, you get to that location. Have you done that? Maybe not, you know. Maybe the most hated relative or most hated in-laws house is the only safe house, but you know what? Go drop in and say hello. But get to a safe location. Know how to get around. How do you know what's happening around there on the streets? Well, follow my tweets is one way, yeah. But again, radio. If you're in the car radio tells you. There are many channels that give you updates. 107 does that, 100 does that, 96 gives you some occasional, 100 gives you in the morning traffic updates as well. And like I said, you now have 915. Well, it's always been there. You now know about it. Call them and ask them.
Islamabad actually has a traffic police radio station as well.
Yes, and more are coming out. And what you were talking about is on that site? Rising Karachi is coming up with that as well. They're working on things. But generally, let everyone know. How many of you have come across checkpoints? How many have been stopped? How many have tried to argue their way out of it? Cooperate. Get out of there. Why do I say that? Why do I say cooperate? Why do I say do not argue?
Because they're probably out looking for someone with some indication.
Fine. Anything else?
No, I only cooperate with radios. Police I always like. Because they
Okay.
ask stupid questions.
Stupid questions. But here's my point. You answer their stupid questions and you get out there quicker. You start arguing with them. You're standing there for another 10 minutes. These guys are actually they've got big targets on their back. Right now, they're the most hunted people. Everyone wants to take them out.
What I noticed is checkpoints are usually in place when somebody who is in the surveillance is going to avoid them. Well, they put one right next to the grizzly bridge in front of that. It's not for everybody to see. Who is no past to that to be in the surveillance? So it's a real stupid way it's being managed.
Indeed. But the point...
This is the ordinary citizen.
Of course it does. And that's why I'm saying get out of there, because that causes a nuisance. If someone wants to target them, they know where they're standing, just like you know where they're standing. But someone who wants to get them also knows where they're standing.
The other thing I noticed, they have to declare exceptions on for the police force. They all stand in one place. So they are the easiest of
Well, in this case, I don't think this would be possible. But I understand what you're saying, and I agree.
Yeah, those three mobiles all went together because they were all there
Yeah,
at that protest.
indeed. But they were responding, and their folk were all there. Yes. You know what? Every time I go to the airport, if I'm wearing the way I am right now, I'll breeze through. I put on a suit and I get stopped every time. I don't know. It's happened. My wife's in the audience. You can ask her. It happens every single time I'm wearing a suit. I don't know. They don't think I'm worthy of wearing a suit. But it happens. It's just something. I don't know. They think that I'm clean shaved, something up. He's probably one of those long bearded dudes who've changed. Wants to get in, infiltrate the place. But it happens with me. I don't know why.
What's happened to me once is I was coming from defense towards home, and this was not even late at night, it was about 10 p.m. I got stopped at 3 locations by these black people, right? And all they did was they just came over, asked me to roll down the window, asked me who I am, where I was going, asked me for my ID card. They took my ID card, went to the back of the car, probably looked at the car plate, and came back and gave it to me and said no. And they were probably just looking for someone.
Yeah, it happens. It happens.
My ID card.
That's my point. It's like get out of there as fast as you can. Don't argue. You're only causing more delay. And like I said, these guys are targets right now. Please understand, as much as we've had a number of killings, there have been 70 odd policemen shot dead in Karachi this year. That's a huge number of policemen shot dead.
And about 3 or 4 incidents today, FC police.
Yes. Again, so you don't want to be around them. You know they're targets. That's me. If you need any, I'd encourage you to go to Safe Secure. That's a Facebook page I've created. Follow ad is the same. Yeah. So Safe Secure has all these tips that we just discussed. There are plenty more videos on there. I recently did a radio talk Friday. I've posted that link there on fire hazards in the home, how to do things. You want to get in touch, you want to ask some questions offline, more than welcome. Sorry? Yeah, I mean, one of the things is I'm also in my capacity as a security manager working with an association that has membership of all major multinationals, the security heads. So we have an association, I'm the Secretary General on that. We kind of, amongst us, we are aware of a lot of training courses, both for persons in individual capacity or corporates. There's another colleague, I think he's around, he's left maybe. There are a lot of things happening out there. We post them. And rest assured, everything you see on Safe Secure is not going to be like that egg window screen thing. It's vetted information that we are guaranteeing that may be verified. It won't be fake up there. It's small, it's just, it's got 200 likes right now. People don't talk about it. It's just something I do in my spare time, put up there. But there are tips you can go. Ambulance numbers, the right ambulance. Someone mentioned an ambulance number. Aman Foundation, folks. I'm not pitching for them, but seriously, they're doing some amazing work. You call their helpline 1021, and they will actually keep you online, if needed, till the ambulance arrives for you to ensure that the patient is in a position to be transferred to the hospital. So they'll give you techniques on what to do. Yeah. And obviously when they're responding. That's the only current helpline available. So if you're not sure and you're alone at home and you've seen something, you don't even need an ambulance, just call them and they'll give you, say, do this, this is person's choking, I don't know what to do. They'll help you. This is out there, use it. So this is a couple of ways of getting. The SMS, what I'm talking about, is something that I send out alerts on what's happening in the city. Focus is generally Karachi. Of course, it covers major incidents in the country as well. So for instance, today's roadblocks were up there on that. If you go through Pring, then you get it direct on your cell phone. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter. My email's up there and anything. So thank you. And any questions, free to ask.
I just want to go back to your seatbelt.
Yes.
I think it's critically important that you tell people to stay alert when they're behind the wheel. Because that man looked to the side and that caused them the trouble.
Indeed.
You've got to preempt such situations.
Rightly said. Rightly said. And please understand, text messaging while you're using your cell phones while driving, fiddling with the radio channels, trying to change them. Yeah, talking on the phone. The kid is not strapped in the back seat, and so you're turning around, hey, why don't you sit around, stop messing around? And it's that fleeting second that takes your life. You rightly said so.
I have another suggestion.
Yes.
When you get behind the wheel, you should be totally relaxed. After all this, you should freshen up. It's a struggle nowadays. I travel between ports. I'm a lawyer. Believe me.
I can imagine your roots.
I was stuck for 45 minutes between
Absolutely. Wonderful advice here. And, give that 1 second. You may be delayed 1 second, but you know what? It helps you in avoiding a jam for the next 10 minutes. So, yeah, definitely. But, yeah, so thank you. Thank you, Sabine, for hosting. And Sabine has like a nice box there at the counter. Please do share and drop in anything you can to support this organization. They're doing amazing work. There's no fees for today, but again, anything you do can support us, and that's how we can come here and do some more talks. All right, thank you, Sabine.